Hey buddy, it's Peter from the Kia Hyundai channel and welcome to our live video series. In this video, you are probably going to destroy me in the comments. But before you do that, give me a 60 seconds or so to make my case and decide if you want to watch the rest of this video. In this video, we have the 2022 Hyundai Veloster N. It's a performance car. We also, not just for clickbait, happen to have a 2017 Porsche Cayman S. Both cars, a lot of fun. And I'm going to make the case that this is a legitimate alternative to that car. Now, I'm not saying it's better, although I will point out in a few cases where the Hyundai is actually better. And I'm not saying that you're gonna wanna drive it. I do expect to be roasted in the comments by a whole bunch of people who drive 2002 Honda Civics that's gonna say their car is better than both of these. I'm cool with that. But here's the thing, a lot of us have dreamed of driving that car. We have, me included. We like that car. And I used to be an automotive journalist. I also work at a dealership now. I've had the opportunity to spend several afternoons in a car like that and in cars very similar to it, both when I was car reviewing and here at the dealership. It's a really fun car. But I'm gonna say legitimately, this is an affordable car that gets you 90% of the joy, maybe even more. And we'll talk about why that is. So legitimately, this is an alternative for those of us who will probably never own that. So here's how this works. We do this live video every single weekday at 2 o'clock. If you just want to get to the content and you've made it this far, skip ahead to the 3-minute mark. We're going to talk about it for about half an hour. We're going to go through in detail some of the things that make this car really enjoyable and maybe make that sting of never owning that car a little bit better. So you can skip ahead to 3 minutes mark if you want to do that. In the meantime, I'll show you how to join us. We're going to talk some real quick news and notes, and we're going to let our live audience build. So here we go. All right, let's just flip around here. If you want to join us live for our videos, again, we do Kia and Hyundai vehicles every single weekday at 2 o'clock Eastern time. It's 2 o'clock, just after 2 o'clock right now, because I went on a little bit longer intro. Go to our channel, exactly 2 o'clock Eastern time. You'll see this regular video here. You're going to refresh the page. When you do that, you'll see our live video take over. We're going to click into that. You're going to have to watch a quick ad while you do that. I want to just quickly point out that we are supported by 3 different dealers: Brantford Kia, Brantford Hyundai, and Owen Sound Hyundai. These are 3 dealers that support us. They make this channel possible. And if you're looking to buy in Ontario, you can reach out to me in the link in the description below, and I will connect you with their sales team. They'll treat you like family. They'll treat you like they're my family. All right, we are over time here, so let's just skip ahead here. Real quick, a couple people have been asking me about the EV6 ordering day we did the other day. Have the orders been received? Has everything been done? How many orders have we got? All of that's still being tabulated. If you are concerned if your orders come to our store, we'll find that all out soon. So just bear with us for a bit. There are some emails I have to get back to. I just saw the subject line of one pop through recently. So if you're that person, we will get back to you very soon. Obviously, these are live, so I don't get to email during the 2 o'clock hour, but I will get back to you. All right, those of you who skipped ahead, let's talk about it first of all, okay? Here we go. 2017 Porsche Cayman S. I've driven the 6-cylinder version of this in the past. This is the 4-cylinder, 2.5, 4-cylinder, 350 or so horsepower. This is the Veloster N, the 2022 Veloster N, and we're going to compare them, sort of. We're going to show you a lot of the features that make this car enjoyable. We're going to start with that one because it's fun and that's what we want to see. I'm not here to say the Hyundai is better. Like I said, I will point out a few things where it is, but we want to just go through and talk about why this may be something that makes you just as happy as that and maybe even more. First of all, that car new, about $110,000. I think we're selling for about $80,000 right now. This one's under 40. So again, half the price of a used car. You get the new one, and we'll talk about that as we jump in. First thing I want to show you, though, is the keys so that I can show you them, because one of them especially is kind of cool. It's not the Hyundai key. And then we're going to throw it in my pocket, and then we're going to go through these cars and talk about them. So, Hyundai key. You've probably seen these before. Nothing fancy. It's all keyless entry. It's in my pocket. Porsche key. Cooler. Much cooler. But here's the thing. If your ego is tied up in a brand and you want the badge, if you want to go out for coffee with someone and throw that on the table, even though it's chipping away a little bit on this one, throw that on the table and feel special, and if you need the badge to feel special, then that's your car. Let's be honest, I've laid Hyundai keys on the table at a bar, and let's just say it hasn't drawn a whole lot of attention compared to, I'm sure, what this would. So that key is cool. It does cool things. Let's go take a look at it really quickly. And again, this isn't really a review of this car. I'm not an expert on this car. I'm much more of an expert on this car. We're going to talk about that. But again, I'm a fan of this car, and I just want to show you a couple things that make a Porsche Cayman really cool. Jumping in here, it's low to the ground. This one in particular has like the 14-way crazy adjustable seats, which are really good. They're nice side bolstered. Honestly, I would like some more detail in the seats just because I think that would look cooler. But the one thing that Porsche does really, really well, I'll flip around here as you see me get in. It's low to the ground. I'm 6 feet tall. It's kind of fun. It's pretty comfortable in here. You are low to the ground, but one thing they do well is the placement of the steering wheel versus the driving thing. If you've ever had the ability to drive a Porsche, you're not so much driving like this as you would in a typical Kia Hyundai vehicle. There's a arms bent kind of position here that is a race car position. This one happens to be the dual clutch PDK transmission. There's a dual clutch transmission on that one as well, but today we have the manual version, so we'll talk about all that later. But the overall seating position here is very race-like. Now I'm sitting in the seat, my boss is driving this car, he's a little taller than I am. So again, a lot of time you just sort of sit nice and upright, square, the steering wheel's here, and if I can set this up correctly, let me just see if I can do that. I got an uneven seat here. I don't want my camera to tip over, but I want you to see sort of the position here. There we go. Both hands on the wheel, arms bent, you're in control of this car. It's hard to describe, but this is a less comfortable position in a Porsche than this, in a Porsche than this. So I just want to say that if you are looking for that driving position, the Veloster has that. Just take a quick look around here while we're going through here. You've got all kinds of things here. This is an overboost function, which we have on the automatic version of the Veloster as well. I have the manual today, so you won't see something like this, but there's a 20-second essentially overboost type function here. Again, because I have the standard, this is the automatic. There's paddle shifters here. There's paddle shifters on the automatic version of the, and it's a dual clutch transmission on both. Good gauge clusters here, nice and easy to read. This is a nice digital display, which I kind of like. Let's just turn the key to the on position, which is over here. There's no key in the car. That's just a tab that doesn't come out. The key's in my pocket. But you have a lot of customizable displays in here, and I really quite like that. You can see boost gauge, temperature, oil temperature, coolant temperature, all kinds of different things, oil pressure, those kinds of things. And then also, oops, we have somebody here. We're going to hang up on them for a second here. All right, so somebody who was Bluetooth to this car, we're going to take them off. There we go. We took them off. All right. So over here, what I was trying to show you is the trip computer over here. You have some nice displays here. Now, I just want to show you the size of this display. It appears to be about a 7-inch display. It's pretty clear. I'm not going to complain about it. There are bad cars. A lot of really tiny buttons in here. Heated seats here, which are not turning on right now because the car has to be in the on position. But heated seats, ventilated seats. And let me just see if I can put the gear shift out of the way. I can. There we go. So simple controls, dual zone climate control here, which is kind of nice to have in such a small car. And then you got cool things down here. This one here makes the spoiler raise and lower. Pretty cool. Don't have that on the Veloster. This one here makes the exhaust louder. We do have that on the Veloster. Auto start stop. Those of you who hate systems like this, I kind of get why you hate this system. This one's not as good as the Hyundai system. I don't believe our manual transmission would have this, but the automatics, I don't remember if they do or not, to be very honest. You got a little lap timer up there, which is kind of a cool way to do things. To be honest, I kind of like Hyundai's system better. And yeah, it just depends on what you like. But yeah, definitely cool environment. This is a comfortable place, automatic lights. This one has memory seats, powered seats, because this one has crazy adjustable seats that the Hyundai cannot compete with as far as adjustability. Although I will argue in comfort, very similar. All right, let's go take a look at the Hyundai for a second. And we're going to start talking about a few things that I think make this reasonable. Again, the Hyundai becomes a car that can give you, I say 90% of the joy. And I'll say that for one reason. If you are looking for all-out performance and you measure your car based on the badge or what Motor Trend says this car does, 0 to 60 lap times and all that kind of thing, if that's how you measure cars, that's your car. If you measure your car by this right here, these parts of your mouth going up, smiling, this car gets you 90, 100, 120% of that car a lot of the time. You can park this thing anywhere. You can drive anywhere. And to be very honest, the Cayman is hard to hurt this car, not intimidating. Very fun right from the start. So let's jump in there and we'll take a look at a couple different things here. Come on, camera. Also, those of you who are my regulars, if you want to hit the like button, we're down a few likes over normal because I forgot to ask for you guys. If you're not a regular, that's cool. You know, I'll earn your like if we can. Jumping in here, first thing I like is, again, manual seats. You're going to save some money. Now, why would you want manual seats? First of all, when you're designed for the track, they are lighter weight. That's one reason they do it here. You can see the side airbag is on the outside of the seat. So these seats are specifically designed to be sporty. Sharp side bolstering. Cloth seats down the center, which is usually what you want on a track because they grip you better. Cool little detail up here. The N badge there. It's a little bit more color than it's showing right now. There we go. So you can see that kind of lit up badge there. It's kind of cool the way it does that. Race style seats. And again, striping down the middle, which I kind of prefer, but that's just, you know, that's just me. You may not. Jumping in, fairly low still. Not quite as low as the Cayman. Jumping in here, though, I want to show you that same driving position. I don't know if you see my arms bent here. Again, this seat's a little forward for me because I drove this car today. I didn't drive the Cayman other than just to bring it in the bay. But you have that same seating position. So when you sit here, if you're sitting in this car and you've never driven a Porsche Cayman, you can trust that this is very similar to the Porsche Cayman. I'm just taking the shipping plastic off of some of this car so we can show you some things. Okay, let's take a look over here. Turning the key to the on position, gauges come to life. Again, traditional gauge cluster, digital section in here, but let's take a look at some of the things you see in there. Oil temperature, torque in PSI. Actually, that's in Newton meters. I think we can change that actually. Turbo in PSI as well. And then this car has lane keeping assist. It also has lane follow assist. That's what these two things are. Basically, the car is capable of steering itself. Ooh, let's do that better. Steering itself to keep it centered in the lane. That car, lane keep assist, but no lane follow assist. So again, just one thing that's nice to have. Now, what I really appreciate on this car is you can turn that lane follow assist off. And on a car like this, on a regular car, if you're just driving a regular Hyundai, driving down, Sonata, something like that, you want to kind of drive relaxed and you want to hit that and it'll keep you centered in the lane. In this car, you may want to hug the corners and you may want to cross the lines. Sometimes hold a little tighter on the thing. So that's when you want to be able to turn that system on and off very quickly. And of course, it's placed very well for that. You also have a rev matching button here. If you had the automatic, this is the NGS button, N-Grin system, or I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it does a whole bunch of things for you. But rev matching is pretty cool because, let's be honest, you didn't learn to drive your Porsche at the racetrack. And when you bought your Porsche, you should probably opt for those track days that they'll give you as well. We don't have that. We don't do that, although they have taken some of our customers to the track. This is standard transmission. And if you're going to drive standard transmission and you want to downshift in a hurry, you have to do heel toe shifting. And that's kind of like when you put your foot on the brake like this, and you can sort of see my foot. I'm touching the gas as well. It's kind of hard to do. It's kind of hard to perfect, and you have to be good at it. If you just have an electronic rev matching system, that works pretty cool and makes it fun. Remember that button that's basically made the exhaust noisier in the Porsche? Same idea right here. You can switch your drive modes at a glance right here. If you're in something like an eco mode, it'll say, hey, if you want to, you can shift up. And like I was driving in fourth gear, and it's like, hey, you can put it in sixth gear if you want. And I could do that. Once you're in the sport mode, when we switch over to sport mode, which we are kind of right now, then it'll do different things. It'll show you the gear. Let me just see if it shows you the gear. No, it doesn't show you unless I'm driving, but it'll show you your gear up here, first, second, fourth, like first through six. And you can see when you start out, it's expecting you to drive to redline. This is not your typical Hyundai. When it's expecting you to drive to redline, it's going to say, hey, I'm going to keep your redline a little lower. It was a little lower earlier today, but I'm going to keep your redline a little lower until the engine warms itself up, and then your redline will restore. So they put these orange lights in there. There's also orange shift lights up here. So all kinds of fun things that make this car a very fun car to drive, but you still don't give up on safety. You've got blind spot detection over here, and then you've got what I think is pretty cool. This is the 8-inch screen or so. So normally this software where you have multiple driver modes is on the 10.25-inch screen, but we're going to show you some pretty cool stuff in here. And now I say the 10.25-inch screen because, again, this car is just like, if you were to share a phone with someone, you may want things set up, and you can put these gauges in different ways and do different things. You may want this set up the way you want it, and you may want certain gauges in there, and other people would want other gauges in there. Because you have different driver modes, you can change the user from driver 1, driver 2, or guest. We're going to keep it on guest here. You can set this car up, including setting all the electronics up just for you. And I really like that in, something compared to a Porsche. So when you get in this car, no matter what you want set up, whether it's just radio presets or safety systems or the way that gauge cluster is set up here for the N system or the N mode, you can set up these gauges just for you. So this is pretty cool. You can just see your G-forces in every which direction, timers, performance options, all kinds of things. So you can click into some of these things and you can do all kinds of different things, launch control. So you can change, when you do launch control, you can change the RPM that you want. You can turn the shift light when you want it on, if the N custom normal or sport, because again, we can switch between some of these modes here, the N mode and the custom mode through here, the drive modes through here. And if none of that's making sense, you have multiple drive modes in this car that you can customize up, and you can really make this car yours. And again, what the premise of my discussion is here is you're probably never going to afford a $110,000 Porsche. And even if you can afford it one day, the price, can you afford the lifestyle? Can you afford to have a car that maybe you can't park everywhere, that costs a fortune to service, that maybe isn't that practical? It's a 2-seat version. This one's a 4-seat version with an extra door. We'll get to that in a second too. So there's all kinds of little things in this car that make it fun. And out of any car I've ever driven, and I've driven the Porsches in this, this is the cheapest car that with good performance, that more important, that also puts a smile on my face. I've driven 700 horsepower Corvettes that are dangerous and not fun to drive on the streets because they're just lose control everywhere. This thing grips like you wouldn't believe. It handles, it accelerates, it makes all kinds of noise. It puts a huge smile on your face, and that's why I say this may be an alternative for you. So let's just quickly keep going through here. A couple of the little things we should point out here. The stereo system itself. Let's just go over to the radio system here. You do have this cool little stereo system. It has satellite radio as well, so if you want satellite radio, you get that in there. It is an infinity sound system, so it's a pretty good sound system in the lineup here. You also have things like navigation up here, which you can sort of see on that home screen. This is black right now just because it thinks we're indoors, or thinks it's dark outside because we are indoors. And the new software, again, this is usually the 10.25 inch software. You touch the screen, you can return to the home screen, and that takes you here. If you want to go home again, it actually takes you back to this section here, which is kind of a do everything and still do nothing kind of screen. So all kinds of things in here, voice memo setups, all kinds of stuff you can customize. Blue Link is another important thing. You have a cell phone app, which again, some people don't realize that we have these things. Things like remote starting the car. Now, to be honest, I have never tried it on a manual transmission car. I'm not sure if you can remote start the manual transmission. I assume you can, but I'm not sure what the process is. But you can do things like remote start the car, especially with the automatic. You can also locate your car. You can do things like make sure the doors are locked. I love that the feature tells me if I leave the car unlocked, it'll just give me a little notification on the top, tell me, hey, you left your car unlocked. You can lock it from your cell phone, which is pretty cool. So you get a whole bunch of features that way, which I think is pretty cool. And let me flip down here. The other thing that's kind of nice is automatic climate control. Set on automatic, and you just turn on the set the temperature you want, and whether you need heat or cooling, it will give you what you need. And as you come down a little further, traction control button, which is kind of fun. You don't really have to turn it off on this car. We're going to talk about a couple of the reasons why this is all set up for performance. Rump roasters, which I really like, and a steering wheel heater, which is something that people don't always expect. So you've got those basics in there. But let's talk about one more thing. A lot of people think that this is like a Toyota. Toyota has the TRD system, turd. Toyota Racing Development is what they call it. We competitors, we call it a turd, TRD. When they do their performance cars with Toyota, they basically put suspension, wheels, tires, and call it a performance version, a turd. Toyota Racing Development. When Hyundai goes out with their N models, and let's just talk about this for a second and we'll show you. When they go about making their N models performance, not N line, but N. There's a difference between N line and N. They do things that you wouldn't expect. This body, forgetting everything else, the chassis on this car, so the unibody chassis, has 50 more weld points than the previous, than other Velosters. 50 weld points to increase the rigidity of the overall chassis. So they start with the chassis, just like that, was started from the ground up to be amazing on the track. So was this. And that's what's kind of cool. So they've got their, from the ground up, extra weld points in here. And then they redesigned suspension components, including electronic limited slip things. So you don't have the spinning of the wheels in the same way. Just the same as you have a limited slip differential there. You have electronic limited slip differential here. This one's front wheel drive, that one's rear wheel drive. There are differences. But you have cars that are absolutely a blast to drive, driven from the ground up to take to the track, and also drive on the road. And I'm going to tell you one more thing about owning a Porsche. Driving this car around, everybody's going to say it's absolutely amazing. Let me break the news to you. Not so fun all the time. It's a little bit noisier, which a lot of people like, but a lot of people don't. It's firm riding. Some people call it harsh. It's not truly harsh for a sports car, but if you're used to driving, for instance, a Stinger, if that's your level of performance car, you're going to find this to be a rougher ride, more harsh ride. And it's the same thing with this. This has that firm, harsh ride, which I won't say is identical to the Porsche, but it's very Porsche-like. It's very kind of similar to that. Again, it makes it worth considering as an alternative. So where am I headed next? First of all, we're going to take your questions right now. Hopefully you haven't trashed me in the live comments. I expect the trashing to come after the live comments. And then I want to show you some of the practical reasons why this car is something you can live with, and a guy my age could buy this car and justify it for his life. Because that's the other thing you have to keep in mind. A lot of people that can afford that $110,000 new car, it's not their main car. A lot of us who are buying this car, which is just under $40,000, may have to have it as their own single car and their everyday, all season, everything kind of car that we have to take the kids to school and that kind of thing. So this car, you can do that and still have 80, 90, and in some cases 100 and 120% of the fun of the Porsche. So I'll take your questions right now. If you haven't given us a like, do me a favor, hit the like. I'm not doing these cars together for clickbait. I'm legitimately saying I've driven these cars And this really does remind me of that, and I'm glad that we have that here. So let's do that again. Is it better to do a Mazda 86 or Mazda Miata if you're comparing how fun to drive, price range? Okay, let's do that. Let's talk Mazda Miatas. I've driven both the Toyota 86. I've driven the, actually the older version, so the BRZ to be fair, a BRZ Subaru, but you know what I'm saying, the older version, not the most recent 2022. And I've driven the Mazda Miata. Mazda Miata, one of the most fun cars you can buy. 2 seats, very small, not very practical, does not feel like the Porsche. Mazda Miata feels like a Mazda Miata. Toyota 86 feels like the Toyota 86. So some differences there. When I say if you want something that feels like a Porsche, the Miata doesn't do that. It's a softer ride that's an absolute blast to drive. I like Miatas. You should buy one if you want one. Even saying that from a Kia dealer. But I will say this car is closer to that in the feel. Now again, not rear wheel drive, not kind of other stuff. In the overall feel, the noise, the ridiculous sounding exhaust note, the just overall silly fun, the Veloster N is closer than the Mazda Miata. Absolutely. Mazda Miata is still fun, but not the same. All right, let me go through here. Oh, sorry, TRD is pretty much done in North America. It's GR, Gazoo Racing. Yeah, sure. It's still Toyota's version of sports, and they haven't got a great reputation of that. Somebody says, like a Porsche, and they're giving me the thumbs down. They haven't watched the video. That's cool. I'm cool if you want to trash me already. All right, no questions really yet. The Porsche key looks like the Tesla key, or you can say the Tesla key looks like the Porsche key. Yep, that's true. And somebody says, hi from Australia. Hello to you. All right, okay, let's keep going on. Obviously, nobody has any questions. Everybody's afraid of the comment section. So one thing I want to say is the people that are going to trash me for saying that the Veloster is not like the Porsche are probably not driving Porsches. And those of you who are driving Porsches, watch the video. That's all I have to say. So if you want to clip that section out and send it to the Porsche people, again, if you're trashing me and you drive a Porsche, cool, let's talk. You should watch the whole video. If you're trashing me and you don't drive a Porsche, let's go. When is the Elantra N coming out? It's on the website. So I haven't seen it yet, but I saw it on the website. I expect it soon. I haven't actually asked when we'll see that. So I know it's coming soon. Of course, we'll have it here. And those of you wanting to know the matte black version of this car, we're going to do a proper review of that probably next week in the matte black version of this car, or matte gray. I can't remember the exact color, but the matte paint finish, which I've never seen before until it just showed up today. We're going to have that back in here tomorrow. We'll do a proper in-depth review of that next week. So if you like this vehicle, subscribe, and we'll do that next week. All right, let's keep going here. All right, so now we're talking. That's a car that we all dream about. When one day we have $110,000 to blow, we're going to buy that. But now we're saying, okay, I like the performance. I like the idea. You've convinced me that this is 80, 90, maybe even 110% of the fun, depending on how you are. Now I got to see, can I live with it in my everyday life? Well, let's pop the trunk and check it out. Trunk, large, quite large, much larger than there. Boss is driving this one right now. I had to fit some packages in the back here, and then we had to split them up and put them in the front. I will say the front trunk, fairly large on the Porsche, but not super practical. The nice thing about this is you can fold the rear seats down, and you also have this fairly good sized trunk. Teddy bear is right behind me here. I'm not gonna throw teddy bear in the Porsche. Maybe I will. Yeah, we'll probably try that, because that'll be fun. So let's try that. Okay, so teddy bear in here. How does he fit? Sorry about the shadow cam work. Pretty deep, pretty good. He fits in there just fine, and because you guys are gonna ask, let's just have some fun and tell you, again, this isn't about trashing this car. This is about realities, but teddy bear over here. I'll jam him in there if you need. So why not, right? Obviously, as a practical car, you can still take this panel out. You can fold the seats down. You've got a lot more space. Just for fun, because this is my trunk measurement tool, we'll throw him in the Porsche. Because, yeah. I got news for you guys. Teddy doesn't look so cool. So again, if you're taking the kids to school and this is your plan, if your kids are anywhere near teddy bear size, you probably should see a doctor, because teddy bear's got some weird proportions. But yeah, he's got a very large head for one. Anyways, what I'm saying is there's the rear trunk. The front trunk, like I said, is a little deeper, but it's not going to fit teddy bear either. So that was a fun exercise. But yeah, let's just try over here now. A lot of people don't realize the Veloster is not a coupe. It's a two-door looking car on this side, but it's a four-door looking car on the passenger side. It has asymmetrical doors. So how this works is the passenger door here is actually shorter. The driver's door on the other side is a little bit longer. So this one's shorter than it is on the driver's side, and you gain a door here, and that door is really practical. Now I say that, oh, I was gonna say the passenger seat looks like it's a long ways back. Again, is it a huge seat back here? Not really, but let me jump in. Here we go. Rear seat, again, this passenger seat is too far back. It can be moved forward. You'll saw, whoops, you didn't see anything. I had to duck my head underneath here, but once I'm in here, I've got, you know, a little bit of space above my head, about my hand width above my head. I'm a 6-footer sitting behind what would be a taller person than a 6-footer. Let's just go right to the driver's side as we jump across here, because this is me sitting behind myself. Head just off the ceiling, so I've got some room here. Legs, that much space sitting behind a 6-footer. Are my legs flat to the seat? They're not. How long am I gonna wanna sit back here? To school and back for an hour? Sure, I could do that. Beyond that, probably not. Going around the racetrack for an hour? Yeah, put me in. We'll do that. So if you go to the track and rent it out, this car's a practical car that gives you 80, 90, or 110 or 120% of the fun. So why do I say 110, 120% of the fun? Driving a Porsche around is something that is intimidating if you haven't got a ton of cash, because stone chip costs you money, a lot more money. Service costs you money. You don't want to park it anywhere. A little ding in the door, you want to protect it. This is a Hyundai. It's a $40,000 Hyundai. It's a blast to drive, but you just drive it. You just have fun. You park it anywhere. You don't worry about it, and you have a blast. So can't get out this side because there's no door here. I could flip the driver's door seat forward if I wanted to climb out that way, but I'm not going to. I'm going to crawl across. Oh, I should probably show you one more thing. Just looking down here. There are cup holders in the middle here, and there's a little spot to put a phone or something else down there. It is plastic, so the phones will slide around, but you do have a spot to keep things in place when you do that. Now, getting out the passenger side, I'm going to be honest, not the most convenient to climb across here for a 6-footer, but who's coming back here? Is it your kids, your friends? Either way, they can get in and out. You're not doing that in a Porsche. All right, so here's what we've got. We're 26 minutes, 26 minutes in. I do want to show you some lighting on this car. We'll show you that. There were almost no questions because you're all afraid to comment. You all think I'm crazy, and most of you probably aren't going to buy this car because most of what we talk about are really practical cars. This one's just fun, and it has some practical elements, but it's absolutely a blast. So if you have questions, go ahead and ask them. If you're a fan of this car, hit the subscribe button because we'll have another vehicle like this next week. I want to show you lighting before we finish, but we're not going to go too long. And if you have a like to leave, we got 60 people on right now. See if we can get to 60 likes. Let's try that. So I'll take your questions right now. Somebody says, I finally caught a live show. Well, welcome to the live show. All right. Oh, the person who trashed me earlier said not bad price-wise. Okay, so we've turned that person around. I appreciate that. Does it require premium gas, or can you realistically run in regular? That's a good point. I'm going to show you the gas door, actually, because I think it says right on there, and if it doesn't, I'll let you know. Pop the gas door the old-fashioned way. It doesn't say it. Okay, so you can run on regular fuel. Usually with these kind of cars, maximum performance is the 91 octane, and regular fuel is the 87 octane. So if you have 87 octane, which in Canada, that's the standard, you can do that. So somebody said premium most likely, you'd be incorrect. You can run on regular fuel. So the last time I checked, so we'll double check that, but most of our vehicles, you can run on regular fuel. So we'll just double check your owner's manual before you buy the car. But I'm 80, 90% sure, 95% sure that all of our turbo engines can run on regular fuel. 275 horsepower, 260 foot-pounds of torque. And the thing that's nice about this vehicle is the turbo engine at 1,400 RPM, you get the maximum torque. So it's 1,400 RPM to about 4,000 RPM. So really, really good. So somebody says, nice Veloster. There we go. All right. This guy is a great presenter. Okay. Oh, somebody said if they watched 5 more minutes, they're going to go buy a Veloster. That's cool. You should go buy one. Just make sure you buy it from Brantford Hyundai or Owen Sound Hyundai. You can connect with me in the link on how to do that. Intercooled, yes. Has the intercooler down here. Got the Celtos because of your reviews. Hey, that's cool. All right. Let me keep going on here. Ain't no one scared, but I love this car too much. I did all my research. All right, so that's good. All right. So like I said, if you guys are fans of this car and you've made it this far, we're going to have the matte color in here next week, and I'm going to do a proper review of that without trying to pretend like there's a Porsche in the room. Let's just talk about that. Want to show you lighting on this car first. We'll do that, and then, like I said, we'll wrap this one up, but there are some cool things about the lighting here. So Porsche, while we're talking about it, usually LED lights are upgrade lights. These are the HID lights on this car. This one here in the Hyundai has the, I don't know if that'll work, there we go, has the LED lights out front, and you can see. And maybe I'll turn the Porsche lights on because they're actually competitive here in this, not competitive, but you know what I'm saying. All right, let's see if I can do that. Don't want to start it. Just want to go to the lighting Auto, let's go to headlights. Nope, it won't do it unless the car's running. Okay, and I don't want to start the car in here. So we'll turn that off. All right, so sometimes with certain brands, you can't turn every feature on when the car's not running. Because we're indoors, I don't want to fume out my boss, but we'll show you the lighting here. So first thing I want to show you is really sharp cutoff. Now on this camera, for whatever reason, that wall, this camera, those LED lights, they turn out to be more yellow. These are very white lights, and they're close in color to daylight lights. So you can see a lot's going on here. You got the projector beam headlights out front, which of course are right there, really bright. And those lights that started flickering there, they don't flicker in real life. They just flicker when they interact with the camera sometimes. Those are some pretty bright, just daytime running lights that show up pretty cool. And again, they don't flicker in real life. I'll show you the grill here while we're at it, just because it looks cool, the N mode out front, or the N out front. And again, really sharp cutoff. So what those LED lights do, practically speaking, is they give you that natural daylight color. So when you see something at night, you instantly recognize it. Your brain doesn't have to think about what it saw, and it can react very quickly. That's because it's a daylight type color. Makes it safer for you, makes it nice and bright, and they're cool looking. Back here, again, cool looking lights. And that's all it's about, cool looking lights. They look better in person than they do here on camera for sure. A little bit of a flicker because again, they are LED lights. I really like this brake light kind of hidden up top in that triangular kind of race setting. This spoiler is functional. There's a double level spoiler. So the lower spoiler will clean that air off the car. You want air coming off cleanly off the car. And as you pick up speed, it's gonna go up here. So while the Porsche has an adjustable spoiler, hey, that's pretty cool. This one has two spoilers, both of which are actually functional depending on the speed you're going. They will create some downforce and help the air cut cleanly off the car. Down here, massive exhaust. Let's just do a little comparison. I don't have my, well, that's taller than my finger, right? Across there, you know, significantly wider than my finger. I would say it's pretty round, but it's on an angle. And then over here, I'm gonna get dirty, much smaller than my finger. So you can see they're actually smaller dual exhaust, but just when I say massive exhaust, you don't expect that on maybe a Veloster. Whoops, I'm tripping over the chairs. But dual exhaust, big exhaust outlets, dual exhaust in the center there, a little bit smaller outlets. Just a cool looking car. So there we go, there's the Veloster N. Like I said, we're gonna have another one back here next week. We'll do a really in-depth review. I wanna go through some of the technology in the car, which we haven't touched on really here. This was sort of a fun introduction. And again, the key thing with buying a Veloster N, the car was built for fun. So it's not gonna catch a Cayman around the track. It's just not. But it is just as fun. And I will argue that this car is more fun on the streets than that car. And people will disagree with me, and they will be right. You can have fun on that car, with that car on the streets. But to me, this car is more fun for me to drive in the streets. I'm not worried about a whole bunch of little things. And this car, to me, a little bit easier to drive, even in the manual transmission, than that car. Neither one's hard to drive. It's hard to hurt yourself in that. You have to be really stupid to hurt yourself in that, to drive yourself off the road. You know, in my mind, you have to be very irresponsible to hurt yourself in that, because that car stays on the road, no problem. But so does this. Stays on the road. If you're responsible and have fun with it, very, very secure and safe feeling. And I think there we go. So yeah, absolute blast to drive. This one's about driving fun. And like I said, if you have your self-image tied to the brand of car you drive or to the numbers that Motor Trend publishes for performance by the Porsche, if you just want to have a car that's a blast to drive and you want to get the experience of driving something like that, and this is really one of the closest things you can get like that in a mainstream form, go for this car. It's a really fun car. So there you go, guys. There's my presentation today. Gonna leave it right like that. And like I said, next week we'll have the matte black version in here. I don't know if it's an automatic or standard. I haven't checked yet, but we'll have that car back. In the past, I've done videos of this car in the past, I have done videos of this car. You can check it out as well. I made the mistake of saying that I think the automatic is better than the manual. After driving the manual again, I wanna say very quickly, the manual is an absolute blast to drive. I stand by, I think the automatic is better for most people. And I never thought I'd say these words, but I would buy the automatic of the Veloster. And the reason is the same reason that most Porsches leave in an automatic. Driving around town, the automatic is so good in this car and still so much fun. I would probably buy that. If you want to buy a manual fun car though, absolutely buy this one. It's an absolute blast. And if they only sold this car in manual, I'd still buy it in manual, but you may want to consider that. So there you go, guys. It's been fun. Do me a favor, guys, hit the like button. I'm going to get trashed in the comments because I put a Porsche and a Hyundai together and people are going to tell me I'm crazy. So do me a favor, if those of you who appreciated this, just leave a nice comment, hit the like button, do that kind of stuff. And we'll see you again tomorrow with some different cars and next week with another Veloster N. Have a great day, guys. We'll talk to you soon.